The coffee shop was packed with the usual morning crowd. Business professionals in sharp suits clutching their lattes. Students hunched over laptops and retirees reading newspapers in quiet corners. The line stretched almost to the door, and conversations hummed with the comfortable buzz of people starting their day. Near the back of the line stood a young woman in military fatigues, her boots scuffed from use, her hair pulled back in a regulation bun. Her name was Private First Class Emma Torres, and she was 22 years old with barely 8 months of service under her belt. She'd stopped in on her way to the base, just wanting a quick coffee before another long day of training. But as she waited patiently, she began to notice the stares. A man in an expensive suit looked her up and down with barely concealed disdain. 2 women in yoga attire whispered behind their hands, their eyes flickering toward her with something that looked like mockery. And right now, as you're watching this unfold, I want you to think about this. Have you ever judged someone based on how they looked? Have you ever made assumptions about a person's worth before knowing their story? Drop a comment below, because what happens in the next few minutes will shake everything you think you know about respect and sacrifice. Then it started. A voice from somewhere in the crowd, loud enough to carry. Stolen valor, probably. Everyone wants to play soldier these days. Laughter followed, cruel and casual. Emma's cheeks flushed, but she kept her eyes forward, her jaw tight. Another voice joined in, this one from a young man scrolling on his phone. My tax dollars paying for her coffee break. Must be nice. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she gripped her wallet. She'd faced grueling physical training, sleep deprivation, and the constant pressure of proving herself in a male-dominated environment, but nothing had quite prepared her for this casual civilian cruelty. The barista called the next customer, and Emma stepped forward, trying to ignore the continued whispers and snickers behind her. Just a black coffee, please, she said quietly, her voice steady despite the emotion threatening to break through. As she reached for her card, a hand gently touched her shoulder. She turned to find an older man, probably in his 60s, wearing a simple jacket and jeans. His silver hair was neatly combed, his eyes sharp and assessing. I'll get this, he said firmly, his voice carrying a tone that made several people in the shop look up. Emma started to protest. Sir, that's not necessary. But he was already handing his card to the barista. It's more than necessary, Private, he said, and something in the way he said her rank made her stand a little straighter. The mockery hadn't stopped. The man in the expensive suit spoke up again, emboldened by the audience. Oh great, another bleeding heart. You know she's probably never even seen combat, right? They hand out uniforms like candy now. His companions laughed, and others in the shop smirked into their cups. The older man turned slowly, his movements deliberate and controlled. When he spoke, his voice cut through the coffee shop chatter like a blade. Would everyone here please give me your attention for just one moment? Before we continue with what happened next, if this story is making your heart race, hit that like button. This moment needs to reach everyone who's ever underestimated someone based on appearance alone. The shop fell silent. Something about his bearing, his tone, commanded immediate respect. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a wallet, flipping it open to reveal an identification card. My name is Brigadier General Robert McNeil, United States Army, retired. 38 years of service. The expensive suit suddenly looked very pale. The general continued, his voice steady but filled with barely contained anger. This young woman you're mocking is wearing the uniform of the United States military. That means she raised her right hand and swore an oath that most of you couldn't even recite. She volunteered to put her life on the line so you could stand here in your comfortable clothes, drinking your overpriced coffee, and exercise your right to free speech by tearing her down. He gestured to Emma, who stood frozen, her eyes glistening. You see someone young and assume she hasn't earned her place. You see a woman and assume she's weak. You see a uniform and think it's a costume. Let me tell you what I see. He turned to face Emma directly. Private Torres, isn't it? I recognize you from the base newsletter. You scored highest in your unit on the physical fitness test. You're training as a combat medic, which means you're learning to run toward gunfire while everyone else runs away, just so you can save lives. Emma nodded, unable to speak. The general turned back to the now silent crowd. She makes roughly $30,000 a year. Most of you probably spend that on car payments. She lives in a barracks, shares a bathroom with 20 other people, and gets woken up at 5 in the morning to run until her lungs burn. And she does it willingly because she believes in something bigger than herself. The man in the expensive suit tried to speak. I didn't mean, but the general raised his hand. You meant exactly what you said. You meant to belittle her service because it made you feel superior. You're not superior. You're just comfortable, and you've mistaken that comfort for accomplishment. He turned to the women who had whispered earlier, and you, judging her for taking a coffee break. Do you know what her schedule looks like? She probably started her day 3 hours before you did. She ended it long after you're asleep. And she'd do it again tomorrow, and the day after that, for as long as her country asks. The general pulled out a coin from his pocket, a military challenge coin bearing his unit's insignia. He pressed it into Emma's hand. You keep this private. And anytime someone tries to make you feel small for serving, you remember that a general saluted your courage today. Then, in front of the entire coffee shop, Brigadier General Robert McNeil came to attention and rendered a crisp salute to Private First Class Emma Torres. Emma, tears streaming down her face, returned the salute with shaking hands. The coffee shop remained dead silent. The barista, a veteran herself as it turned out, set Emma's coffee on the counter and quietly saluted as well. One by one, 3 other veterans in the shop stood and followed suit. Even some who had never served placed their hands over their hearts, shame and respect mixing on their faces. The man in the expensive suit approached quietly, his arrogance completely deflated. Ma'am, I apologize. I was completely out of line. Emma nodded, gracious even in her vindication. Thank you, sir. As Emma left the shop with her coffee, the general walked beside her to the door. Don't let them dim your light, soldier. The uniform you wear was earned. Never forget that. Emma smiled through her tears. I won't, sir. Thank you for standing up for me. He smiled back. Warriors stand together. Rank doesn't matter when respect is on the line. The coffee shop never quite returned to its previous buzz that morning. Conversations were quieter, more thoughtful. The man in the expensive suit sat alone, staring into his cup. The women who had whispered didn't whisper anymore. And everyone who had laughed carried the weight of their mockery a little differently after that day. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that every uniform represents a real person with real sacrifice, then please subscribe to this channel right now. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that respect costs nothing but means everything. Hit that notification bell because stories like Emma's need to be heard by millions. And the next time you see someone in uniform, whether they're 22 or 52, whether they're having coffee or just living their life, remember that you're looking at someone who chose service over comfort, sacrifice over ease. They deserve our respect, not our judgment. Don't just watch this story, let it change how you see the world. Subscribe, share, and be part of spreading respect and gratitude to those who serve.